This
It is my honor to introduce
Principles of Passion. Principles of Passion. Chris Thomas.
Great moments are born from great opportunity.
I followed my passion.
I have a dream.
And Dominic Semina.
You better come to work. Perfection.
With special guest CESAR Muñoz, newly appointed founding principal at Cristo Rey Miami.
Keep going. Find that thing you love. If you can find that thing that really gives you joy, that'll be it.
It's just part of life. You have to try and fail to understand when you come back again, you're going to come back better with more knowledge. It's just all trial and error.
That's the gospel. Are you ready?
It's Principles of Passion.
Come on, sucker. Let's get it on.
Thank y'all for tuning in. This is Principles of Passion, episode 17. Progression, baby. Progression. Thank y'all for tuning in. Facebook, Instagram. We love y'all. If you are tuning in on either, your passion 1ST. Follow me on Twitter. Got a lot of things in the pipeline. We're excited. Even more excited, though, to have CESAR Muñoz on. CESAR Muñoz was recently appointed founding principal of Cristo Rey Miami. And you are an alumni as well of the program, correct?
Yes, I am.
That is awesome. So tell us more about your story, man.
Man, it's a crazy one. A lot of ups and downs for sure. Perseverance is probably the thing that I pride myself most on. I could literally sit here and talk for the whole hour, but I know I'm not going to do that. So I'll give you a little sneak peek because I know that this is kind of like what the purpose of the show is. I got kicked out of college, man. I got kicked out of college for my grades. I was trying to juggle a full-time job, full-time school, and I just didn't know how to do it. So it went from that, from graduating from Cristo Rey, everything was good, right, to then hitting that low, to finishing college in 6 years, to getting my master's right after that, to currently taking doctoral classes at DePaul, and here I am, under 30, about to turn 30. Thank God I got the position as a principal down in Miami. I get to start my own school. But man, you just got to keep on perseverance. Like I think I heard Dominic say in the intro, it's just trial and error. You got to do it over and over and over. And if you give up, then you're just cutting yourself short.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big piece to that in really trying to persevere, and I think where some people fall short because of kind of what they think about what others think about them, is authenticity, right? And I think that's something to really hold true as you try and dig to that passionate place. Tell me more about how that has been a tool for you, that authenticity.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's definitely not as clear at first. When I was a little bit younger, and I'm sure a lot of young people go through the same problems now, where they try to impress the person who their boss, right? They try to just impress them, but they kind of forget about who they are. That's become a lot more clear to me as I've gotten older. To me, I'm gonna give you 150%. I'm gonna work super hard. I challenge people at my job to find somebody who works harder, but I stay true to myself. I am what you're gonna get. Right. I'm gonna give you 150%, and if that's not good enough, then it just wasn't a right fit. And I'm okay with that.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And I neglected to intro my trusty, as always, co-host Dominic Semina.
How are you?
Thank you, man. Thanks for coming on, as always. Trooper, loyalty. What do you think about authenticity? What comes to mind?
Being who you are, no matter where you're at, as long as you're you and you know who you are.
Yeah, that's it. Short and sweet. I like it. So authenticity means erasing the gap between what you firmly believe inside and what you reveal to the outside world. It's a good quote by Adam Grant. It takes a very strong person to say what they're good at, it takes an even stronger person to say what you're weak at, and to really be comfortable going and asking for help and asking for guidance and asking for support and asking for mentorship. I think it takes a strong person to really understand kind of what you bring to the table, but where your areas of weakness are and your areas of improvement. And so I think the more comfortable we as people, especially entering into a new job space, can get with that understanding, I think it just goes so far.
Feedback's important. I am lucky enough to have gone through a program to get my teaching certification and my master's called AUSL, Academy for Urban School Leadership.
Say that one more time.
Academy for Urban School Leadership.
Okay. Awesome.
All they do is give you feedback. So that was kind of part of my natural upbringing in my career. And everywhere that I've gone, I've always asked for feedback. You, as an individual, as an employee, people recognize you more if you're asking for help, if you're coachable, if you're willing to just try it out as long as you're asking for feedback. That's one of the biggest advice I always give to people. Don't be scared.
Yeah.
It's okay to mess up.
Yeah. Especially when we're trying to learn.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I know we kind of touched on Cristo Rey, but can you just give the audience a brief description of what Cristo Rey is too?
Sure. So Cristo Rey is very, very unique. It started off as just one school here in Pilsen, where students go to school for 4 longer days than your traditional 6.5 hour school day. So they go to school for about 7.5, 8 hours. I forget the exact schedule. And they do that for 4 days. And on the 5th day of the week, you go to work at a corporate, at a corporation downtown, at a doctor's office, at a lawyer's office, and it just gives students ages 14 to 18 an incredible opportunity to graduate from high school, not just with a high school diploma, but also with 4 years of experience on their resume. So now all of the places that are asking for, you must have 1 to 2 years of experience, like these kids are already graduating.
Right. And they're not scared. It's not new to them.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's great. So authenticity, like, really to me boils down to being true to yourself. I'll start with Dominic. What's some advice you would give to folks that are struggling with that a little bit, you know, and really being true to themselves, whether it be because of the crowd they keep, whether it be intentional or not? What would be some advice you would give to folks that are just trying to be true to themselves?
Some advice I would give, and I mean, being yourself and finding yourself is, you know, they kind of go hand in hand, and I'm still learning about myself each and every day. The advice I could say is that who you are is who you're meant to be, and there's no reason to hide that. You are who you are for a specific reason. You have a goal to fill in life, and the more you hide it, the more you push it off, as opposed to accepting it, because eventually, like, it's kind of more wear and tear on the body and energy. You have this second facade, but you don't really need that. You kind of grow into yourself.
Yeah, that's great. What would you say to that, Cesar?
Building your own personal confidence is definitely important, but I'm also a believer in surrounding yourself with people who bring out the best of you. I'm grateful to and lucky enough to have people around me who are always rooting for me, who are always checking in with me. There's 2 people that come to my mind. Obviously, my wife, who is always supporting me and telling me things like, I'm so proud of you. And then my best friend, honestly, his positive vibes rub off on me, and he'll send me videos or memes or different things that are just uplifting, and that helps you build confidence. So you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I've learned too, you can't do it without doing the right thing. Right, and the right thing is so subjective, depending on the person. if you're trying to help other people, to me, that's the right thing. You know, and I think that in terms of you being your own individual, you still have to look at the world as, hey, we're socially connected. So if you're trying to be authentic while severing someone else off with your authenticity, it's not going to get you very far. It's not going to be sustainable. So I'm learning even myself to just be nice to everyone. You know, I feel like I can be very short and to the point, but just being a smile and being nice along with your authenticity can go so far. You know?
It's funny you say that. I currently work at a middle school, and you know middle school drama, like he said, she said, she was looking at me type of thing. I always joke around with the kids, and I tell them, I said, man, when I was your age, I was making sure that I was talking to that group and that group and that group and all those different groups that you find in middle school and high school. Why? Because you never know when you're gonna need them. And not that I'm trying to be advantageous or anything like that or take advantage of people. No, absolutely not. But you just never know when you're going to need somebody.
It's just a small world.
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to run into
Absolutely.
again.
Yeah, from the bottom, right, to the person cleaning gum off the bottoms of desks, all the way up to the CEO.
Yep.
You just never know.
Yep.
So, tell me what you guys think about this as it relates to authenticity. Think inward, look outward. Think inward, look outward. What kind of comes to mind when you think about that?
Definitely myself. So reflection is an important piece. You're reflecting on the inside, and then whatever you're reflecting on, hopefully is constructive. You can then go ahead and push it outwards so that you can make an impact with other people.
Yeah. What do you think, Dom?
To me, I kind of look at it as, well, I live by this one quote. It's as above, so below. So whatever you project on the outside, there's still the inside. There's a second side. And when I hear inside looking out, you have to bring what you have on the inside, your true self, out to be able to, how would I say, just like really show the world who you are and how you can make a difference.
Yeah, your true self. I think what I think about, I'm dealing with some issues at a newer client of ours, and you know we're giving them good people, but there's things going on for whatever reason, right? Either with the people we're placing or with the internal employees or HR. So what I'm coaching the students on is always look inwardly at what you can change first at a situation. Even if you think you're completely 100% in the right, there's always something that you could do differently to change that situation. Even if it's as simple as controlling the way that you emotionally reacted to something that was said, I think there's always a way. And so when I try and tackle any situation, even when I'm very good at admitting when I'm in the wrong. When I'm in the wrong, what I try and do, and when I'm in the right, if someone else is upset and I'm in the right, I try and say, okay, how could I have said this differently to make them not upset or to invoke a different reaction from them? But I always try and look inwardly to see how I can make the outward a little bit better. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I look at it. You know, you always got to be looking for, to your point, that self-reflection first before you try and be a critic of the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know? We were talking about this too. Authenticity can go far, but if you aren't being kind with it, and I've been one to not be kind before, you know, with my authentic kind of brash personality. I'm working on it. But I think, are you trying to help people at the end of the day? You know, so what would you say to that about how impactful that is to just be a good person, you know?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, for me personally, it comes down to just feeling good on the inside. I once again, stuff that I talk to my students about, where I tell them, you got to make sure that you wake up happy and that you go to sleep happy. And the only way that you're going to feel that way is if you're doing good. If you're angry about something, if you're sad about something, you got to let it go. Because at the end of the day, you're the only person who goes to sleep and wakes up feeling the way that you're feeling in your heart and thinking what you're thinking in your mind. And if you're not happy, then I mean, nobody else is going to be happy around you. So yeah.
Yeah, it's that feeling of just bringing a positive vibe to the world. I mean, that's of all the things that you can actually control. That is the one thing that you can control.
Yeah.
That's one of the only things that we actually have control over is how we think about things, and then the way we act is it follows that.
There's a video. I believe his name is Inky Johnson, and it's called "Control the Controllables." We take that for granted sometimes. I can't control how you think or what you're gonna say. All I can control is the way that I'm thinking and what I'm gonna say. So if we remember that, then it becomes a lot more easy to understand, at least yourself.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Dom, you want to add anything?
No, he hit it on the head.
Absolutely. Tell me why open-mindedness is so crucial.
Because nobody knows it all. Not myself, not you, not Dominic. Nobody knows it all. We have to be open-minded in order to grow. One of the most important things for me is just building knowledge. Funny story, somebody asked me today, oh, you know how to do that too? I was explaining that I was changing the rotors on my car. And they said, I would have never thought that you would have been able to do that. I was like, yeah, if I'm not learning how to do new things, if I'm not learning how to change stuff on my car or learning new recipes or whatever, I'm not making myself better. And the only way to be able to build that knowledge is having an open mind. Because you got to have the open mind to want to learn how to cook or want to know how to change a car or want to learn how to do whatever,
Anything new.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. To be authentic, we must cultivate the courage to be imperfect and vulnerable. We have to believe that we are fundamentally worthy of love and acceptance just as we are. I've learned that there is no better way to invite more grace, gratitude, and joy into our lives than be mindfully practicing authenticity. It's a quote by Brené Brown. I really like that one because we keep saying this. You can't bring your true self to the world if you're not happy, but it takes digging deep, I think, to really do that and understanding what you're good at, what you're not good at, who you have around you, who shouldn't be around you. Are you doing what you should be doing or shouldn't be doing? Right? You have to bring all of that positivity in order for your authenticity to have an effect on people, a positive effect, because that's the goal. You don't want to affect people negatively. You want to affect them positively. So how do you bring your most positive self to it? And it's accepting your mistakes, dealing with them, being okay with them,
Learning from them.
Yeah. Yep. What would happen for you, and how would your mindset shift if nobody was watching?
That's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. In these few seconds that I'm reflecting, knowing the person that I am, I don't think nothing would change. Because I'm happy with myself. I'm happy with what I'm doing. And at the end of the day, I tell this to my students too. Everything that I talk about, I say to my students. At the end of the day, you only have yourself. It doesn't matter whether you grew up in the hood without a father, without a mother, or you grew up on the North Shore with a 10,000 square foot house. At the end of the day, you only got yourself. You got to do things for yourself, not for anybody else. And even though that might sound a little bit selfish, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you got to do it for yourself.
You got to put yourself first. And that, you're right. That's not in a selfish way. But if you are not happy and bringing your full potential out, then you can't help people to the magnitude that you should be able to.
Yeah. You're not always gonna please everybody. Like I said, it doesn't matter where you grew up. You're not always gonna please everybody. You just got to make sure that you are able to please yourself and you're happy with yourself. That's why that shouldn't change.
Yeah, yeah. Don, add anything?
Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, no worries, man.
My bad.
So what if nobody was watching?
Oh yeah.
How would you change your mindset?
Well, going back to kind of everything we've been talking about so far, there's nothing I could really change about my mindset because a lot of the things I think about are like really internal anyway. So I'd say if no one was watching, I'd probably just be doing the same thing without having that thought of the people around. That's it.
Yeah.
I will say, I haven't always thought like that though. Growing up, I definitely worried about what other people were thinking. But I think that just came with wanting to be part of something, wanting to grow as a professional, trying to please people. As you get older, even if I wasn't just newly appointed principal, I would still act the same way that I am right now.
What made, because I personally have struggled with that too. What makes that change or that transition from I want people to like me to actually I got this, I got it on my own? Like, what are some things that helped with that transition for you?
I think maturity and confidence. I've been lucky enough to have supervisors and bosses at my last two schools who have given me leadership opportunities, who have said, okay, you're young, but we're going to trust you with this because you have good ideas. So I think it's the confidence piece, and that has allowed me to have the mindset of, okay, I don't know anything about this, but I'm going to go ahead and research it. I'm going to attack it, and I'm going to ask for feedback if necessary. That confidence definitely plays a big piece.
Yeah. Okay. And it takes time though
Yeah.
to build it. Like,
Yep.
and it takes. I'm sure you weren't successful at everything you tried along the way. You even said it initially. Hey, didn't make it out of school right away.
Yeah.
You know, myself too. The first time, my parents pulled me out. So, I think we go through those things to give us coarser skin, so that when the harder stuff comes up, we can push through it. You got to go through that stuff early first, so that you're ready for something like this.
Yep.
So, for sure. Do you feel like a lot of people are running on autopilot?
Yeah. There's a lot of people who are stuck to a certain routine. I mean, I have my routines as well, but definitely wake up at a certain time, get the kids ready for school, get to your job. I think so. I think people need to take some time to self-reflect, to take some time for self-care. At the end of the day, you're still a human being. It doesn't change whether you're married or have kids or 19 or 59. Like, you're still a human being.
Yeah. Dom, what comes to mind when I say question? We should question everything.
Exactly.
And being on autopilot. Like, if I put those two together, because I feel their behaviors enough. So what comes to mind? I probably just answered my own question.
A little bit, but it's okay. Yeah. Well, I'll get into a whole tangent because I have my own views on that and how that all goes together. But I say there is a point where you have your routine, things that you have to do daily, but there also comes a point where within those things, you have to be able to say, I'm still a human being. I'm still living my life. I still have questions. There's more to this routine than just this routine. Like, I can, it's like living in the state. It's like living in Chicago for all your life, the city of Chicago, and you've never been anywhere else. It's almost like the same thing. You don't know what else is out there because you've never questioned it or never showed any interest, so you just kind of stick to what you know for whatever reason, but there's so much more.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's good to get into habits because the more habitual things are, the more you can mindlessly do them. But I think it's still good to question and adjust and like understand why you're doing something and always be trying to improve it or make it better, versus getting into that rut of I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna do this, and not ever throwing anything new into the mix. But I think that can be a struggle too for people just coming into a new industry because they're trying to soak it all up. But I think it's still good to just keep that progression going. You know?
If you, like I said earlier, it's always about trying to make yourself better. I'll give you a perfect example. Personally, even though I've gotten to the level that I've gotten, I hate reading books. But I've tried to get myself to start reading more. That breaks habits, you know, that I don't like reading. I'd rather sit down and watch Sports Center, but I need to break that habit. I haven't been fully successful at it yet. Maybe when I take this next step in my life, I'll say, all right, I'm going to start a new habit. I'm going to take 45 minutes every single day and just read, you know, because there's some powerful stuff out there.
And it's just, you know what? It's little by little. Dom always says an incremental
Life in increments.
Yep.
Yeah.
increments.
It's 14 days to form a habit, 21 to break it. So
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
For sure. Here's one for both of you, and if any of you guys join in and want to answer in, feel free to. But how can society's ideas of right and wrong prohibit you from dreaming? If anyone does want to weigh in, you probably got to weigh in on Cush's mic. Make sure it's on if they do. For now, I'll leave it to you guys. How can life's idea of right and wrong prohibit you from dreaming?
There's a quote that I don't know if somebody else has said it, but I'm gonna try to take credit for it. Every educator has to take a class that's called the philosophy of teaching. Why do you teach? Why do you want to teach? And mine boiled down to something very, very simple. I want to change mindsets to erase stereotypes. I'm going to say that again. I want to change mindsets to erase stereotypes, because what society usually thinks of a person like me, and I read this in college, a Mexican person is supposed to cut grass and clean houses. And that upset me. I said, man, I got to do something about that to make sure that I'm changing the mindsets of the individuals so that they can become the doctors and the lawyers and the engineers and all these things, so that society can erase those stereotypes of the people who look like me.
I gotta get that one.
And not just Mexican, but all minorities. You know, a lot of people sometimes think of minorities as just black and brown and Middle East and Asian and all that, but man, there's even Caucasian people who are minorities.
Yeah, I really, really like that, man. Don't worry, I got you on the road. That's good. That's good. I think that if more people thought like that, I think the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what it's all about, for sure. What is meant by no judging in terms of you trying to be authentic and be yourself and not worry about what others think? What's meant by no judging, or what at least comes to mind for you guys?
For me, I'd say when I hear no judging, it's being able to observe the way other people live and just accept that's how they're living, because, you know, no two people are the same. Everyone has their own mentality. Everyone does things in their own way, and they have the reasons behind why they do it in their own way. And to sit here and say, you know, that's wrong or that's bad or what are they doing, like, we have no right to say that. We're all one person. We're all ourselves, and no one can live the way we live.
Man, the only thing that comes to my mind when hearing that is two things: the word hard, and the words perfect world. Like, if there was no judging, then we might potentially be living in a kind of utopian society, you know? but that's hard. Once again, you can't control the way other people are thinking. So it just has to be like a bunch of mindsets just unifying and creating some change together.
Synergy.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. Synergistic approach.
Yep.
Absolutely, man. So, and this is a tougher one because I know it's been a tougher one for me and for a lot of people that I speak with, whether it be entry level or even more experience in their career. What are ways that you define what's important to you? And I know it seems easy, right? Because we all know what's important to us, but how do you truly define what that is and then prioritize it? And I guess I'm asking this because I see a lot of people not prioritizing things right. And I see people saying a lot, but then not doing what they say. They say they're going to do something, and then they don't do it.
Yeah.
They say they're going to be somewhere, and then they're not there.
Yeah.
So how do you prioritize, like, what's important to you? You know what I mean?
For me, it would be, I would have to split it into two different parts. I would have to split it into what I prioritize professionally and what I prioritize personally. Some of those can intertwine, and some might, one might affect the other in some cases. For example, one thing that I'm trying to do right now is purchase a home. Is my professional side going to impact my ability to buy a home? Yeah. But buying a home is something that's kind of personal. That's not necessarily something that I would prioritize with my professional side, you know? I think that in my profession, I have to prioritize things quickly in order to provide results. I tend to prioritize stuff that impact others first before stuff that impacts me. I'll give you an example. Today I was in the middle of working on something, typing up some data, and a teacher needed some help. She sent me an email and she said, I need your help ASAP. I think she sent it at like 2:23. It was like 2:28 when I read it. I'm thinking to myself, oh man, this teacher is probably panicking right now, not knowing what to do. I paused what I was doing, even though I was really close to finishing, and said, let me go upstairs, let me help her out, because she'll need it first. I can always stay longer at work and finish what I got to do. So that's me at work. Personally, I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a lot of structure to it. I just know I got to get this, and this done.
Because you brought up a really good point with the professional side. You said, I prioritize things that impact others first, and then I do the things that impact me. First of all, I commend you for just saying that, because most people don't have that mindset. Here would be my question, just in playing devil's advocate. What advice would you give to someone that may prioritize others a little too much and forget to prioritize themselves?
Yeah. I mean, I think that way because I consider myself a natural born leader. Ever since I was in high school, I seek those opportunities. Every person, whether you're a leader or not, we've kind of already said it. You have to also make some time for yourself, right? You can't burn out. But what I would say to them is question yourself: do you want to be a leader or not? If you want to be a leader, I'm a big believer in you have to lead by example. You have to get your hands dirty with whoever it is that you're leading. But you also have to take the time to step back and whether it's delegate or do other different things that puts you a little bit ahead of everybody else. You got to be able to do that. You can't be a leader if you can't call the shot sometimes, if you can't delegate certain responsibilities to others. So I would have them self-reflect. Are you trying to be a leader, or are you just trying to be somebody who is helping out, a role
Follower,
player.
right.
You know, I wouldn't even call him a follower. I'd call him like a role player on a basketball team.
Right. But you're not the lead.
Right.
Right. That's a very good way to put it. I like that. Dom, want to add anything?
No,
spot on.
Yeah.
For sure. I actually really like that, man. That resonates well. Because there are people out there that are okay with just being a role player, and they're totally fine with that. And hey, more kudos to you.
Yeah.
I think progressive people will progress out of that state.
Mm-hmm.
I think static people will stay in that static state. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just a matter of what you want, and if you're ready to move beyond that, then you got to push yourself beyond that.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone that's trying to rewrite their story?
Start today. Everything has to start at a certain point.
You about to start reading books today?
Everything has to start at a certain point. It shouldn't matter whether it's Monday or Thursday, right? A lot of times people joke around and say, "All right, I'll start my diet on Monday." You know what I mean? No, like if you're trying to rewrite it, just get started already.
Just take action
Yep.
right away.
Yep.
Right away. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is just that fear of taking action and then failing. I think where the biggest struggle is failure is only looked at failure when you're not aligned with your vision, right? Aligned with what you're passionate about. If you are aligned, then a failure is just a stumble, right? And I wouldn't even call it a failure. I would call it just that. Oh, I fell back a little. I stumbled. But if you are aligned, you're not going to lose sight of that. And I think where people fall and lose sight is when either A, they're not doing the right thing, B, they don't have the right people around them to redirect them back to that vision, and C, they stop. After that one failure, that's it. They just stop, right? They lose momentum and they don't do it again. So I think just staying aligned with that helps you get through those tougher times of stumbling.
Yeah. Speaking about the word failure, I'm going to give you an acronym for the word fail. First attempt in learning.
I like it.
First attempt in learning. Everybody's going to fail. Even at our youngest points of our life, right? We learn how to walk and we fall, but we get right back up and you try it again. Even from that infancy, we fail. So it's okay to fail when you're 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 and up until right before you pass away.
Yeah. A friend of mine, Billy Robles, he said a quote once, and I ended up getting the quote on my back, and it says, "Born to lose, built to win." We're all born to fail without the right support.
Yeah.
With no support, you die in the womb, right? Without the support of your mom, right? So
Yeah.
you're born to actually fail. I think as you get through those struggles and you come out and you cry and you get the umbilical cord cut and you learn how to walk, you go through these little incremental steps where you're learning, right? Your first attempts at things, you're learning and you're learning and you're growing. And so I think in that growth is where we win.
Yeah.
You know, it's not in the getting there, because when you get there, then you're ready to grow again.
Yeah.
So in that growth, though, is where true people, I think, are built. But you have to learn to be okay with those stumbles.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Can you give me an example of how you embrace an imperfection that you have?
I think the key word is embracing it, being okay with it, joking around, but also creating like an action plan to how you're going to perfect it, right? So the first thing is being okay. I always joke around, I'm chunky, right? My sister will tell you, I've gained maybe 30, 40 pounds from the time that I graduated high school. I used to play basketball and baseball. But I embrace it. I know that I got to get better at it. But the first thing is accepting it. The different steps of sometimes addiction or stuff like that is like one of the first steps is denial. And you're not going to get better at anything if the first step is denial. You have to become okay with it. So in order to embrace your imperfection and to want to change it, you got to be okay with the first.
Yeah, and then just doing it.
Yep.
Little by little.
Yep.
For sure. Dom, you want to add anything?
No, I'm good.
I think one thing I try and do is just be hypersensitive to what other people say that I do wrong. Even if there's a lack of validity in it, there's some validity because they said it. So it's up to me to see how much that weighs on me and my mind and how I'm going to react to that. But I always try and look at someone else as being right first versus being wrong first. Like something you said, maybe it didn't make me feel right, but something about what you said, there's some truth in it.
Yeah.
So how can I filter that truth? Like, okay, maybe I was an asshole. Maybe you backed out last minute and you used excuses and I had to tell you how I felt about it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like I got to weigh kind of that out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of those imperfections.
Right.
I'm okay being a bit asshole-ish at times. I don't consider myself an asshole. I can be. Again, I think it comes down to who you are as a person, what your mission is, and then how you're willing to react to it and try and bring positivity from it at the end of the day. But sometimes that doesn't happen, but you just try. You try and make it better. What else do you want to get off your mind? Because we got a little bit of time. I have a couple more things I want to add, but I know you are. Sorry, Ernie, Mike. Sorry. What are some things though that just you want to get off your mind or that you've been thinking about? You're going through some pretty intense changes right now that are all for the positive. Is there anything that's been weighing on your mind or anything as of late?
Not really. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Everything in life happens for a reason. I don't think that I understood that in the past, but I understand it now. When something is meant to be for you, things will always play out. I had a lot of moments growing up that made me question why isn't this happening to me? A week before I graduated from Cristo Rey, my friends and I we had a party, and I don't even think my sister knows the story. I had a gun pointed at my face, literally from as far away as you are, and nothing happened. It was just knuckleheads trying to scare me. Luckily, I was with two of my friends. One of them was my best friend's girlfriend. I was dropping them off at home. She screamed. They took away. But things like that, or walking home from the train station at 3 o'clock in the morning because the bus isn't passing. And we grew up in Brighton Park, which at the time when I was growing up, it was like the second or third worst neighborhood in the city. Right. Why didn't things happen to me?
Yeah.
Right? So I always thought, why aren't things happening to me? They're happening to people that I know. I've seen people get shot. And to me, just recently, it all made sense. There was a plan for me. That's why things weren't happening to me. So just having faith that there's a plan for you. Sometimes you're going to have to question yourself, should I do this or should I not do this? But you only have to take care of 50% of it, because the other 50% of it, it's already planned out for you. Whatever's supposed to be for you is going to be for you. So that's definitely something that's been going on through my mind, which is why at the current moment, I'm not too worried about anything. Everything's gonna work itself out. I'll be down there middle of July. Official start date August 1st. Don't have an apartment yet. Don't know what I'm gonna take with me, but
get
it's all
We'll
gonna
figure
work
it
out.
out.
It's
Yeah.
all gonna work out.
Yep, yep. That's awesome, man. That's just an awesome story to hear of someone coming up through a program like that, and then you're their first alumni that's going to be a principal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just a huge opportunity, man.
I'm really, really excited about it. Cristo Rey, honestly, from the time that I went to Cristo Rey, where there was only one, if not two schools, I know that mine was the first one. To now having 35 nationally, like that was something that excited me. And I even told them in the interviews, whether you decide to choose me or not, as an alum, I'm so proud and so happy to see how much growth you guys have done. The numbers are crazy. They're impacting like 15,000 students, another 15 or 20,000 alumni. Like it's big enough to make a difference, but it's still small enough for people not to necessarily know about them. Because a lot of the people that I work with, or a lot of people that I know, I have to explain to them the model of Cristo Rey, which is unique, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely excited about the opportunity.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Dom, you want to add anything?
I mean, like throughout everything.
Sure, man.
Well, there's something that it's kind of been sticking in my head since it was brought up, but the society and how it can stop you from, getting to where you want to go. The thing with that is, the only advice I could say is, everyone does things at their own time. There is no set time that you have to do something, and society plays a big part in that because people see all these norms, these social norms, and they feel like if they're not on that path, then they've failed. But it's not that case at all. And like you said, life has its path for everybody, and everyone gets to where they're meant to get to at the time they're meant to get there. And society is it's just kind of there, but everyone has to live their own life.
Yeah. My favorite quote from you today, and probably my favorite quote in all 17 episodes.
Appreciate it.
I want to change mindsets to erase stereotypes. That is profound. That is the mission of our nonprofit. That is the mission of Purpose Workforce Solutions, our for-profit. And that's my mission in life, very similar to that. I think that the more that we can get comfortable with ourselves and get over our past and use our past as a motivation, right, as opposed to a weight holding us back. I think a lot of people live in that past as opposed to saying, hey, let me use that as a repellent versus a weight.
Mm-hmm.
You should not want to go back there, and so stay as far away. I think the more, though, we can be okay with that past, whether it be generational past or your own personal past, I think the more we can look to the future. But it comes with having a positive mindset. Right? You can look to the future all day. You can look to the past all day. Either way, you got to bring positivity to your own mindset so that you can bring it forward.
For sure.
Folks, we really appreciate y'all tuning in, all the interns. Good people. Had some new arrivals here. Remember, if you don't put your passion first, it's hard to chase your dreams. Thanks for tuning in.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.